Just like his portrayal in The Last Jedi, Luke in The Rise of Skywalker was rather divisive, but in a different way. Luke in The Last Jedi split Star Wars fans across the board, while The Rise of Skywalker split fans who liked The Last Jedi. And I'll be honest, when I first saw Luke catch the lightsaber and say, "A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect," I let out a fairly loud chuckle. Because yes, on first viewing this did seem like a simple FU to Rian Johnson, but afterwards when I gathered my thoughts about this scene as a whole, I came to the conclusion that it was a logical progression of Luke's character, and it doesn't ruin anything for me in The Last Jedi. So I'm going to discuss my thoughts on some of the main complaints of the scene where Luke talks to Rey. So let's start out with the lightsaber. Some do see this as a direct shot towards The Last Jedi, but of all the criticisms of the scene, this is the one I disagree with the most. Luke started The Last Jedi with the notion that the Jedi needed to end. He came to realize that the galaxy thinks it needs the Jedi back, but in reality, the Jedi have done nothing but add to the problems of the universe. And the most selfless act he can do is do what he couldn't do in The Empire Strikes Back and ignore the calls of help from his friends and lock himself off. What he did come to learn at the end of the movie was that the Jedi don't need to end, but they need to change. When he tells Kylo Ren that he will not be the last Jedi, he knows Rey is the change that the Jedi need. Luke dies knowing that the universe will change with a new kind of Jedi. So when Rey tries to repeat Luke's actions, of course he's going to stop her. When he says a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, I saw it as him referencing their first encounter and trying to make a point not to follow in his footsteps. So that's why this whole part of the scene made complete sense to me. The next part that gets criticized is Luke telling Rey that he was wrong, and this criticism is a little weird to be honest. I've seen people confuse what he was implying when he said he was wrong. Luke at the end of the day was right about the Jedi in the past, especially in the prequels. The Jedi do hold a significant portion of the blame for Palpatine's rise to power. Luke wasn't saying he was wrong about that. He was saying he was wrong in his belief that the Jedi needed to end. Luke learned that running away was not the right solution to helping the galaxy, and that was what he was trying to tell Rey. This next part of the scene is probably the most tricky of them all. It is revealed in The Rise of Skywalker that Luke knew Rey was a Palpatine. I believe it was Chris Terrio who said it was up to the audience's interpretation as to when Luke learned this. But the complaint here is that if Luke did know, then he would have told Rey that she is related to Palpatine. But this is something I completely disagree with. For one, I want to see where it was most likely that he learned this fact. One assumption that I think is safe to make is that he somehow used the Force to learn about Rey's lineage. So that means at the earliest, he found out when he first connected with Leia. Remember, he cut himself off from the Force, so he wasn't connected to it up until that point in the movie. Right after that happens, he runs in on Rey and Kylo touching hands, and tells her to leave. They have their little fight, Luke tells her what really happened with Ben, and then she leaves. Maybe had Rey just been Jade chilling in one of those huts, he would have told her what her lineage really was. But when he saw she was flirting with the dark side, he probably chickened out. Also, what would result from Luke telling Rey? She would probably have a panic attack and it would potentially ruin everything. Maybe Rey would have been too scared to confront Kylo. Maybe she would have been too scared to confront Snoke. We don't know what her exact reaction would be, but I bet it wouldn't have resulted in anything good. Luke still wants Rey to be that hope for the galaxy. He just doesn't want her to think that becoming a Jedi is the right answer. Also, he knows that Rey is still insecure about her identity, so why would he want to make things more confusing for her? So yeah, I don't think Luke would have told her anyway. The last thing I want to discuss is the X-Wing. Now this is also probably really tricky. I would say with almost 100% certainty that it was Rian Johnson's intention that the X-Wing be destroyed. It makes the most amount of sense given Luke's mental state. Since Luke raised the X-Wing in the Rise of Skywalker, it can be implied that Luke knew this whole time that the X-Wing was somewhat operational. I do think having the X-Wing destroyed is better, but I don't think it ruins Luke's choice to be on the island. Regardless of whether or not Luke could have left the island, I still believe he would have made the choice to force project a crate. If Luke was physically there, it would have made him stalling Kylo a lot harder. For one, if he did take the X-Wing, we don't even know if he could have landed on Crate. The First Order is still up in space. Maybe they set up some sort of blockade that the Resistance managed to escape really easily. Also, Luke wouldn't have been able to say goodbye to Leia or even enter the base had he physically been there. There's no way he would have survived all those blaster shots, and he also wouldn't have had the Skywalker saber to fight against Kylo either. So from almost any aspect you look at it, Luke physically going to Crate doesn't make sense. Another thing, the simple shot of the X-Wing in The Last Jedi could have been seen as a setup for its use later. Now that's not how I saw it, but that's up for the audience to decide. Also, it's entirely possible that the X-Wing was damaged enough to where Luke couldn't fix it, but maybe Rey could. I actually think something like this was addressed in the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, but I'm not entirely sure. One last point I want to make is that for me, the scene we got was great anyway. I think seeing Luke raise the X-Wing is such a nice way to show his growth from The Empire Strikes Back. Before he couldn't do it and now he could. So I think this scene was totally worth it. Also, we get to see Rey pilot an X-Wing just like she dreamed of in The Force Awakens, so that was something I really loved too. Now I want to say that I don't think seeing Luke in The Rise of Skywalker as a contradiction to The Last Jedi is a stupid opinion, it's just one I disagree with. Remember everyone, the most important thing we can do as a Star Wars fan is respect each other's opinions, regardless of how passionately we may agree or disagree with that opinion. So overall, those are all the reasons why I feel The Rise of Skywalker did not ruin Luke from The Last Jedi.